Joe Rogan once said, "The mind is the most powerful force in the universe. If you can learn to control it, there's nothing you can't do." But what if there's already a version of you who has done it all? A version living the life you secretly crave, walking the path you've only dared to think about late at night. What if there was a way to shift into that version, not slowly, but now? This isn't science fiction. It's called quantum jumping. And no, we're not talking about particles in a lab, or wild theories that belong in comic books. We're talking about a real mental technique, practiced quietly by some of the most successful minds, people who never publicly mention it, but swear by it behind closed doors. It's not magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's a method rooted in your subconscious mind, and once you learn how to use it, everything changes. In this video, you're about to discover the only quantum jumping method you'll ever need, one that doesn't require crystals, rituals, or endless meditations, just 5 focused minutes a day, and the courage to shift your identity. You'll learn why most quantum jumping techniques don't work, and what those rare few who actually do experience life-changing results are doing differently. We'll break down the science, the psychology, and the steps so clearly you'll want to try it before this video even ends. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Did you know that in real quantum physics, what we used to call a quantum leap isn't even instantaneous? That's right. Scientists recently discovered that these jumps unfold over time, and better yet, they can be predicted and even reversed. That single fact changes everything. Because if particles can ease into new states rather than teleport, doesn't that say something about you? About the way you might evolve, shift, and step into your next level, gradually, consciously, powerfully. And while the internet is full of vague guides and recycled techniques, we're cutting through the noise. No fluff, no filler, just the one method that actually works. And why? So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only understand quantum jumping, you'll know how to use it to shift into a life so aligned it feels like fate. I'm Jessica, and I'll guide you through it all, step by step. Welcome to Dr. Miles Reveals, where the hidden becomes visible, and your transformation begins. If you're ready to uncover secrets most people will never hear, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. Let's dive in. They never told you this in school, but there might be more than one version of you, not in some faraway galaxy, but right here, layered over this very moment. Sounds impossible, right? But stay with me. Quantum jumping isn't about breaking the laws of physics. It's not about teleporting or bending reality like a sci-fi movie. It's actually much simpler and more powerful. It's a mindset tool. A mental shift that lets you tap into the version of yourself who's already living the life you want. At its core, quantum jumping is based on the idea that there are infinite versions of you, existing across different timelines or realities. Each version made slightly different choices, faced different outcomes, and created a different life. One of those versions might already be confident, healthy, financially free, in love, or doing what you only dream about right now. Quantum jumping is the act of aligning your thoughts, emotions, and identity with that version. You don't physically go anywhere, but something does change. Your habits shift, your energy shifts. You begin to act and think like the you that already lives that upgraded reality. Now, let's be clear. The term quantum in this context isn't about atoms or particles. That's real physics, and this isn't trying to mimic that. This is about using the language of possibility to reprogram your mind. And the truth is, your subconscious doesn't care what's real or imagined. It responds to what you believe and what you emotionally rehearse. So when you start thinking like the future you, feeling like them, and acting like them, something clicks, and that's when things begin to shift around you, not by accident, but by design. Let's clear something up before we go deeper, because this part confuses a lot of people. When we say quantum jumping, we're not talking about actual quantum physics. We're not rewriting the laws of the universe. We're using the term as a metaphor, a powerful one that mirrors how transformation feels. Now, in real physics, a quantum jump is what happens when an electron suddenly moves from one energy level to another. It doesn't travel the space between, it just jumps, instantly. It's unpredictable, unseeable. For decades, physicists believed it was abrupt and impossible to anticipate. But that's changed. A few years ago, a group of researchers observed something shocking. Quantum jumps could actually be tracked, even reversed mid-leap. In other words, these instant changes weren't so instant after all. Why does that matter to you? Because it perfectly mirrors human transformation. You see, personal change rarely happens all at once. It feels sudden, like you woke up different, but underneath, it's a process. Small shifts in thought, micro decisions, energy building over time until finally you leap. That's why the metaphor works. It gives us a language for something deeply psychological, deeply real. When we talk about jumping into a different version of yourself, we're not suggesting you blink and wake up in a parallel timeline. This isn't a movie, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it can feel that dramatic. That's what makes it so effective. The metaphor tricks your mind into accepting massive change as not just possible but natural. Just like electrons change state, so can you. The human brain doesn't easily accept slow, uncertain growth. We're wired for stories, for symbolic meaning. So when you visualize your next level self, and you take on that energy fully, your brain begins to accept it as the new normal. You're no longer stuck in the old identity. You're no longer rehearsing fear or failure. You're shifting your internal frequency. And just like that electron, you jump. It's also important to understand this metaphor isn't used lightly. It's not just a trendy phrase. It's become a tool in therapy, in high-performance coaching, even in some schools of meditation and visualization. It gives structure to the process of becoming. It tells your subconscious, we're not fixing the old version, we're stepping into a new one. And here's what makes it work even more powerfully. Your brain is naturally flexible. It's always rewiring, always adapting. Scientists call it neuroplasticity. So when you repeatedly show your mind a vivid image of a new self and align your feelings and actions to match it, your brain starts building that identity as reality. In the end, quantum jumping isn't about particles, it's about possibility. It's about skipping the slow path of change and stepping into a version of you that already exists in the field of potential, not because you defied physics, but because you understood the metaphor and made it real. There's a reason quantum jumping has captured so many minds. It promises something we all secretly want: instant change, without the struggle. The idea that you could bypass years of effort and pain by stepping into a new version of yourself, that's powerful and incredibly tempting. People fall for it because it offers hope, not the distant maybe one day kind, but the kind that says, you can change everything, right now. And in a world where most of us feel stuck, tired, or behind in some way, that message hits deep. But there's more to it than just wishful thinking. Quantum jumping taps into the emotional brain, the part of you that responds to images, feelings, and belief. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to the subconscious. That's where real change begins, not in the conscious mind where we make decisions, but in the emotional space where identity is formed. We're not just drawn to it because it sounds magical, we're drawn to it because it reflects how transformation actually feels. One day you're overwhelmed, the next, something clicks, a mindset shifts, you begin to act differently without trying. That's the jump. It also doesn't hurt that quantum jumping gives people a sense of control. Life often feels random, chaotic. This method says you're the one steering. That's incredibly reassuring. And let's be honest, most of what we're taught about self-improvement is slow and boring. Wake up at 5 a.m., grind, meditate, repeat. But quantum jumping feels alive. It feels cinematic. It speaks to the part of us that still believes in miracles. That's why people lean into it, not because they're gullible, but because deep down they know they were made for more, and they're finally hearing someone say it's okay to leap. Now let's talk about the steps, not the complicated 12-phase rituals you've probably seen floating around online. I'm talking about the simple core actions that actually make quantum jumping work. These steps aren't flashy, but they're the ones that stick, the ones that move the needle. First comes clarity. You need to know exactly who you want to become, not just more successful or happier. That's vague. You need a clear image of the version of you you're trying to shift into. What does that version think about daily? How do they walk into a room? What habits do they repeat without question? Once you have that, the next step is visualization. This is where most people stop, but it's just the beginning. Visualization isn't just seeing it, it's feeling it. It's stepping into the scene with all 5 senses, not watching your future self like a movie, but being them, fully. Then comes emotional alignment. You have to generate the exact feelings your future self would experience. Confidence, peace, excitement. If your body can feel it, your brain starts believing it's real. And once belief enters the picture, things begin to shift fast. Next is embodiment. Small daily choices that match your future identity. If your future self wakes up early, speaks confidently, or treats their body with care, you start doing that now. Not to fake it, but to become it. The identity follows the action. Finally, repetition. This isn't a one-time leap, it's a practice. The more you visit that future version of yourself, the more familiar it becomes. The brain starts accepting it as reality, and slowly, your outer world starts to catch up with your inner one. Not because it's magic, because you've trained your mind to lead. So what makes this method different from the countless other manifestation techniques out there? It's not just the language or the science-inspired metaphor. It's the focus, the simplicity, the fact that we're not trying to manifest things, we're choosing a version of ourselves and committing to it completely. Most techniques ask you to visualize a house, a car, a lifestyle. That can work, but it often keeps you stuck in chasing mode. You're always asking, hoping, waiting. This method flips that script. You don't focus on what you want to have, you focus on who you want to be. That subtle shift changes everything. Instead of scattering your energy across 10 goals, you anchor into one clear identity. One future version of you who already has the health, the clarity, the relationships, the peace. You bring that version forward, not in theory, but through small daily embodiment. Poof! You stop trying to attract and start deciding to become. Another thing that makes this method unique is the ritual. Just 5 minutes a day. A short focused practice where you close your eyes, step into that future self, feel their energy, speak their thoughts, and leave the session as them. Not watching from a distance, but merging with the identity completely. And it's repeatable. You're not relying on mood or motivation. You're building a pattern into your nervous system. A loop your brain can follow until the jump becomes automatic. It's not about wishing, it's about training. This method is subtle, but deep. It doesn't doesn't need candles or moon phases. It only needs you, your mind, and the decision to shift. Because once you choose that version of yourself and hold it with enough consistency, the jump isn't something you wait for. It becomes something you live. The real engine behind quantum jumping isn't the vision board or the ritual. It's your subconscious. That's where the true shift happens. Because no matter how clearly you imagine your future self, if your subconscious doesn't believe it's safe or possible, nothing changes. Your subconscious mind is like the operating system running in the background. It's been shaped by years of repetition, emotion, and past experiences. It doesn't respond to logic. It responds to pattern. And right now it's probably running a version of you that's outdated, based on old fears, old stories, and outdated beliefs about what you deserve. That's why conscious effort alone doesn't create lasting change. You can say affirmations all day, but if your subconscious identity says, that's not who I am, you'll stay stuck in the same loop. What makes quantum jumping powerful is that it speaks directly to the subconscious through experience. When you visualize and feel yourself as the upgraded version and do it repeatedly, your subconscious starts to accept that new identity as truth. Not because you forced it, but because you lived it enough times for it to feel real. The emotions are key here. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. The stronger the emotional charge during your visualization, the more your nervous system lights up, the more your subconscious pays attention. That's when the old identity starts to loosen its grip. And here's the shift most people miss. The goal isn't to change your life and then feel different. It's to feel different first and let life catch up. Once your subconscious accepts a new version of you as normal, your actions change without effort. Opportunities appear, behavior shifts, reality begins to bend. Not because the outside changed first, but because you did. Deep, invisible, and from the inside out. There's a reason not everyone makes the jump, and it has nothing to do with discipline or intelligence. The biggest barrier isn't lack of knowledge, it's internal resistance. Quiet, sneaky resistance that lives just beneath the surface. The mind doesn't fear failure as much as it fears change. When you start imagining a new version of yourself, something deep inside might whisper, that's not you. That voice can sound like doubt. It can feel like hesitation, procrastination, or even fatigue. It's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect the identity you've been living for years. Your subconscious loves patterns. It doesn't care if those patterns are painful, limiting, or outdated. It just cares that they're familiar. And when you begin stepping outside of them, even mentally, that part of your mind resists. It's like trying to walk a new path through a forest that's been overgrown. The old trails are easier, but they don't take you anywhere new. Another major barrier is emotional disconnection. Some people visualize their future selves, but they stay numb. They don't feel the energy, the confidence, the shift. Without that emotional charge, the subconscious doesn't register the new identity. It files it away as fantasy instead of fact. Fear of success is another hidden block. It sounds strange, but many people subconsciously fear the pressure, visibility, or responsibility that comes with stepping into a higher version of themselves. So they sabotage the jump before it even starts. And then there's clarity, or the lack of it. If you're unclear about who you want to become, the mind can't lock onto a new path. It stays in limbo, cycling through old behaviors. That's why the work isn't just about jumping forward. It's about clearing what's in the way, making space, mentally and emotionally, for the shift to finally happen. Here's something most people don't know. For years, scientists believed that quantum jumps, those sudden shifts in the state of a particle, were completely unpredictable and instantaneous. One moment the particle is in one energy state, the next it's in another, without passing through the space in between. That's the classic image. Boom, a sudden leap. But in 2019, something changed. Researchers at Yale built a system that could actually observe a quantum jump in real time. And what they found surprised everyone. These jumps weren't instant. They unfolded gradually, over time. Even more shocking, they could be predicted and reversed. Now pause for a second, because this changes everything. If real quantum events aren't random explosions, but smooth, trackable transitions, then that metaphor we've been using, it just got a whole lot more real. Think about what that means for your own transformation. Maybe to jump into a new version of yourself doesn't have to be mysterious or chaotic. Maybe it can be a process. A series of subtle shifts, predictable, intentional, and entirely within your control. In the experiment, the scientists saw early signs that a jump was about to happen. They noticed the lead-up, the build-up of energy, the slight shifts before the full transition. Isn't that exactly what we experience during personal growth? That quiet tension before the breakthrough, the small signs before everything clicks. So when people talk about becoming someone new overnight, they're skipping the real story. Change may feel sudden, but it's usually a build-up, a gradual curve that reaches a tipping point. Just like in the lab, this isn't just poetic, it's scientific.